Call this meeting to order. I thank everybody for coming out tonight. If you would please, reminder that emergency exits are in the sides and in the back of the auditorium. And if you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Englund? Here. Mr. Oswald? Ms. Shanley? Here. Mr. Shane? Here. Mr. Izzo? Mr. Heim?
Here.
Ms. DeSimone?
Here.
Ms. Freeze?
Here.
Ms. Oakley Edwards?
Okay. At this time, can I get a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters? Mary, and second. Lenore? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We'll be back. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Thank you for your patience. return to public session. I appreciate everybody's patience. I know we were a little bit longer than we had hoped. We're going to move on to, can I get a motion to go back into the public session? Patty, second, Jenna. All in favor? Aye. Back in regular session. Is there any visitor recognition? There is no visitor recognition, so we're going to move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dan.
Oh, yeah, very, it's Halloween week, so you have a lot of fun things happen. I know some of you were at the Halloween parade yesterday. I would say that's a tradition here at Catskill, is seeing all the kiddos and the staff members all dressed up. I mean, there were some good ones. I have to give it to the Catskill Elementary School team, but they theme, and they've been theming every year since I've been here, so the main office was Charlie Brown. I saw construction workers, Barbie, Sesame Street, Dunkin' Donuts, M&M's, Minnie Mouse. I was a sole lone ranger going over there, but
You didn't dress up, Dr.
I did. I was a cowboy.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. I had a Yellowstone shirt, Yellowstone cowboy. That'll be in his evaluation.
in with the parents.
No, but it's good, and also I think something that's very nice is you noticed that we are in the middle school auditorium today because we are hosting the All County Music Festival today and Friday. So it's our turn. We take turns in the county hosting it, and this year's our turn. So very excited. I was walking around earlier today, and the kids were doing a great job, and this is countywide. And the other one, as the school boards know, but let the public know, is the superintendents of the county. We've worked very hard in trying to bring back county-wide board workshops, and we have the first one this upcoming Monday. So it'll be nice for the superintendents as well as some board members from the entire county to meet, to go through and just get just knowledge on some of the areas that we're struggling with. This school year and in the future, I think the agenda this time is electric buses, staff shortages, and I can't think of the third thing off the top of my head. And school board, please, most of you responded to me, but please get to me by by noon tomorrow so I can get that information to Greenville. And we have a report to do. Right? Good. So, Mr. Churchill, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
So we're not going to be able to display a PowerPoint or anything, right? You didn't have one? Okay.
So we met with the audit committee a bit ago. Can everyone at the table hear me?
Yes.
And went through the audit report in detail. So this is the summarized version of that. You received updated draft information, I think, earlier in the day, maybe a day or two ago, but no later than today. So that is there for you to look at. We are at the point internally where we're going through the quality control review process with this. This is the report as we see it happening. When we go through quality control review, there's always some tweaking that happens in footnotes and wording and things of that nature. But beyond that, it doesn't change where we stand with the audit report as a whole. So in touching upon those things, the audit report as a whole is a clean opinion on the overall financial statements of the entity, which is, under current terminology, is now called unmodified report. And we also have to do a report on the extra classroom funds. The extra classroom funds is also an unmodified report in the current year. And that is a result of actually some hard work in upgrading that, because a year ago, the report was a modified report for extra classroom. This year is unmodified, meaning a clean opinion. There was a number of findings in the prior year management letter and the management letter before that, so that led to for the June 22 report for extra classroom, it was a modified opinion. So this year, it is a clean opinion. There's 3 documents. You have the hard copies of what you received the PDF of. Of those 3 documents, 2 of those are the audit reports. The big thick one is the audit report of the whole entity. Probably the smallest of them is the audit report of the extra classroom. And then the third document is what we call a board report. That has certain key communications in it that are required in the audit process. The first letter is thanking you for letting us provide your audit this year. Then there's a document in there called a management letter. The management letter does discuss what are the current year findings in this year's audit. And again, they are less than they have been in the past. One of those is related to unassigned, unappropriated fund balance, and that is in the board report on page 5, if you want to look at that specific wording. School districts are allowed to maintain 4% of the next year's budget as unappropriated, unassigned fund balance. You are above that. You're at a threshold that I know you were, from talking to the finance and the superintendent, of where you knew you were going to be with respect to that number. So it's something you have to work with in your financial management and future facilities plans and things of that nature to address. There was a couple of other observations that were not a finding per se, but just things that we saw during our testing. One of that was related to some disbursements testing, related to getting authorized signatures, and the other was related to sign off on salary notices. We saw most of the salary notices, and what we mean by a salary notice is where the district puts out to the employee a form indicating what their payroll is going to be for the current year, and that gets signed by the employee and signed by administration as well. Neither of those other 2 items were super significant, but those were the items in your management letter this year. In prior years, and not specifically last year, but last year's management letter, there was probably still upwards of 6 or 7 comments that were noted, a bunch of those in the extra classroom area, and they were all resolved, so they're not showing up again in the current year. Was there anything specific that anyone participating in the audit committee wanted brought forward? Because usually this part of the presentation is pretty summarized. You have good control in the current year with respect to budget actual comparison of what your revenues and expenses were overall. The one thing that no one budgeted well, on a positive note, was related to investment income in the current year. That's a lot higher than what most districts budgeted because no one was anticipating what the rates of return were going to be on savings and CDs and things of that nature from banks that did occur this year and hadn't occurred in a long time.
Yeah, I don't personally have any questions yet at this point. I did just get it today, so I haven't had an opportunity
Understood.
to really dig through the package, but I think the Finance and Audit Committee will just be regrouped and go through the final draft, and I'm sure we'll be in touch if there's
All
any
right, and if
questions.
there's any questions, you can ask them through administration. Bear in mind, we do this job for the Board of Education. So if for some reason you feel you can't go through the business office or the superintendent, feel free to contact me directly. Or Sean Bannon, who's in charge on the job, and we'll get back to you with the answers.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Victor?
So to summarize, you covered a lot of ground, already made the comment, smaller management letter, extra classroom with a clean opinion. A lot has occurred in this past year to make things better.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
that it for the
That
superintendent's
is
portion
it.
of our evening? Okay, we're going to move on to the board action and discussion items, and item E1 is normally our acceptance of agenda as presented. Tonight, we have two walk-on items. Item E2, the approval of agenda addendum. The Board of Education hereby approves the following addendum, and it's an administrative resignation for the purpose of retirement for carryover ball. And that would be effective 12/31/23. In item E3, the Board of Education hereby approves the following addendum, an administrative paid leave of absence for employee number 1823. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Jen? Jennifer? Which do you prefer?
Jen's fine.
Jen's fine. And can I get a second? Patty? All in favor of the agenda as amended? Opposed? Agenda is, well, approved. Oh, very good. So now we'll move on to voting on the items. So on item E2, which is the administrative resignation for the purpose of retirement for carryover ball, can I get a, is there any discussion on the item? And can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Joe, and second, Jen. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
I would just like to make one note. My motion to approve is with regret. Sorry to see any administrative leave who has worked hard for this high school, middle school, elementary school. So I do it with regret. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item E3, the administrative paid leave of absence. Is there any discussion on this item? Can I get a motion? Jen? Second. Lenora? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, we're moving on to the board action consent portion of the evening, and it's items starting at F1, which is approval of minutes for the September 20th special board meeting, approval of minutes for the October 4th regular board meeting, acceptance of the CSE and CPSE recommendations, acceptance of 504 recommendations, acceptance of the recertification of principal lead evaluators.
Just for a second, can the superintendent please explain to me a principal lead evaluator and what that person or persons does?
So principal lead evaluators are allowed to evaluate our school principals. So there's a separate training that myself and Dr. Miller had to do to be able to evaluate our 3 building principals.
Thank you.
Acceptance of our recertification of lead evaluators, and approval of a budget transfer, transportation contracts.
I had a question for that, if you don't mind. So,
Okay.
on that, it had monthly. Are we doing monthly now instead of the school year?
For the budget transfer, budget transfer.
For the transportation.
contract.
Transportation.
I think some of these are emergency contracts.
They're emergency contracts, so these are, they come up from time to time based on different student situations. It might be special education, it might be a new homeless student that we then have to get transportation for and things of that nature.
And then with the parent contract, if she has or him or whoever has an accident, whose insurance covers that on the way back and forth? Are we liable?
It's in the contract, so I would have to look and see exactly what it
Because I
says.
didn't see that part. I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Okay. I think I said acceptance. Okay. Acceptance of the extra classroom activity account report, an approval of an assistant technology agreement, approval of a wraparound services agreement, and approval of the establishment of a non-competitive civil service position, approval of obsolete surplus books and equipment, approval of our budget calendar, and acceptance of a stipulated settlement agreement. In addition, it includes the personnel agenda under item G1. And we have quite a few people on tonight. We have some resignations for extracurricular activities. So Matt Daly is stepping down as business club advisor, and Francesca Piano for National Junior Honor Society. We have instructional appointments. We have Amanda Forstogen for a school social worker. She's not here tonight. Right? No. Non-instructional leave of absence for Deb Zabota. Non-instructional staff appointments. Oh, that's for to accept another position. It's for Deb Zabota and Morgan Sism. And we have a bunch of extracurricular appointments for winter sports, which I think that coaches night is what, tomorrow?
Yeah.
So we have Richard Mandigo coming back to coach wrestling. Stephen Forbes, Andrew Chan. Oh, I should have said I have a personal connection with one of the items on the consent agenda. Jennifer England for boys varsity assistant coach. Jennifer Sickler for boys JV. Christian Quinn for basketball, varsity basketball. Ian Quinn for varsity basketball assistant coach. Nicholas Fabiano for JV basketball. And Haley Jones for JV basketball. Patrick Hernandez for boys varsity basketball. Justin Worth, boys varsity basketball assistant. Charles Jansen, boys JV basketball. John Shuck, boys varsity basketball parent volunteer. Lorenzo Ivory for boys modified basketball. And Jeffrey Judzik for girls modified basketball. Migra Oberbaugh, Claire Honan, and Nula Juby as clock operators. And we have Heidi Hart and Eshai Saldana for door monitors. Chaperones, we have Amy Bielich, Jamie Buscemi, Christian Diedrich, James McLean, Michelle Story, and Elizabeth Vermillier. Business Club co-advisors, Matt Lavera and Courtney Neer for the middle school. And National Junior Honor Society, Elizabeth Daly for the middle school. For substitutes, we have Katie Ball.
Excuse me, I'd like to tell you that I have an affiliation with her. She
Okay.
happens to be my niece, I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you for, well, it could be a niece.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Kelly Hare for teaching assistant. And instructional substitute appointments, Kelly Hare, Katie Ball, and John McNally. And that is our consent agenda. So can I get a motion for items starting at F1, extending through G1 for tonight's consent?
I have a question first. Assistive technology services is what?
So that's through special education, so that could be a service that students get provided with. So they go, there's an evaluation that they have to do, and then based on that evaluation, they can get assistive technology, and that person will not only support normally the person who does the evaluation ends up supporting the teacher in helping them understand the assistive technology that's going to be used with that student inside the classroom.
All right, thank you.
Why couldn't it be like a microphone that the teacher would use as well?
Well, it's for a student.
For a student,
It
yeah.
could be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they might train the staff member
Yeah.
in how to use it.
And it could be for the technology itself, right? So,
Yeah, it could be for the technology.
yeah. Can I get a motion? Jen? Second. Patty? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Consent agenda is approved. We're going to move on to the board reports. I know we had a building and grounds meeting since last meeting. Unfortunately, I know Ryan's not here tonight, so I'll leave that for him to report on a future meeting. We had a finance and audit meeting, which we met with Victor again tonight. We're going to continue those conversations. Ryan and I participated in NESBA's conference in Buffalo this past week, and there was a number of good topics that I just thought I'd bring up a couple little tidbits to the board, and then I'm going to try to find a way to get some of this information shared. But I went to, just for me, I went to a couple topics I thought were pretty interesting, and I thought that they might be interesting to the board. So one was family community services. So some of the schools, especially community-centered schools, they have portions of their program that are dedicated to helping families in areas like ours that need little bit of assistance helping navigate to ensure they have the right supplies and materials and support services for their children as kind of an add-on to their program. I think it would have to have a lot of review, but I plan on sending some information around on that because I thought it was an interesting item. We did go to a number of the conversations on electric school buses, which, you know, we'll see how that works. You know, they're getting better from what I understand. We also looked at, I gave Dr. Dan some information because it really doesn't fall into my realm, but New York State is trying to start an apprenticeship program for teachers, and they're looking in the future to start one for teaching assistants to become teachers. And I gave him some information there. I know that's kind of a long-term solution to a problem that we have now with short staff. But overall, I mean, I think the conference was very valuable. I made a number of contacts. I talked extensively to our friends at the RSA, which we're not part of, which is the Rural Schools Alliance, and something that I plan on touching base on future board meetings. And that's it for me. So individually, Jen, is there anything you'd like to bring up tonight?
No.
No? Patty?
I wanted, you're talking about the family community service, are you talking about school supplies? Are you talking about?
So it's, yeah, so I mean, so I'll send around the deck. It's really difficult to get it off that app that they had. So I emailed the gentleman who presented to see if he can give me an actual PowerPoint version. But they have like, you know how we have Catskill Academy? They have a separate area where people can come in both during the school day, there's a school entrance, and after hours. And what they do is they support not only, a lot of it ends up being social and emotional kind of support services, social work. It also gives, in some of these models, they have rooms for other counselors that are private that come in that donate time and services to the community and to the children in need. They do have an emergency food bank, like the one that was describing theirs. But that wasn't like the primary purpose. The primary purpose is connecting the families with the community in order to support the students better that are in need. And also like kids who graduated, it might be helping them find placement help with, you know, where to go if they're having trouble finding a job or things, just directing them and helping guide as part of that program. And I'm sure that's nuanced because you can't use taxpayer funds for all of it. You know, they did mention a lot of it was grant-based and there was other things that they had to take into consideration.
Thank you.
And Joe?
Did they mention statewide the effects that migrants that are assimilated in New York, the effect that they may have on next year's school budget or any other school budget?
There was, I didn't attend any presentation where they really addressed the cost of dealing with like the E&L surge. I mean, I think it was acknowledged. I did sit through NICED's education leadership presentation. Unfortunately, I do feel that that was largely lacked a little bit of real substance. There was a lot of beating around the issues rather than actually addressing them. They did acknowledge that there's a lot of challenges here in terms of dealing with those populations, but they really didn't offer any suggestions or guidance.
You don't, obviously, we can't predict what's going to happen, you know, in the state budget, but I'm concerned about us having the appropriate staff level if that happens to come fruition in our school district. If we're to need certain English language teachers or other specialties, so that's the reason I asked.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I did speak to somebody that was talking about reading science, and maybe Brett knows more about reading science than I do, which was interesting about the way in which you teach. It's not always the curriculum, like for a lot of these groups, it's really the science behind how you present that curriculum that's important. And I did take the card. I mean, if anybody's interested, I don't want to tell people how to do curriculum that are experts, but I can certainly share that with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Joe, was there anything else you wanted to discuss tonight for topics for future board meetings or any other matters?
No, in our workshop, I mentioned a couple items I think the board would like, I would like to see the board look at, but I guess I deferred that to the superintendent to take a look at and see what was possible.
Lee, anything you would like to discuss?
No, sir.
Mary?
I would like to say that this is more of being a grandma, and I'm also a PTA member, and I just wanted to say how impressed I am by the 3 events I attended at the elementary school. Very impressed with how everything was run so well. I attended as we talked about, the Halloween parade, but also the Halloween, I don't know what you call it, the event.
Trick-or-treat.
The trick-or-treat event at the school in the evening the other day. So impressed. There were so many people there, but it was run very smoothly, and the kids had such a great time. And then also, as I said, I'm a PTA member, and the PTA meeting, it was so well attended and so well run. Nicole McElleen is the president.
We have 150.
150 members at the elementary school, and the meeting, they had some people who couldn't attend, did Zoom, but there were quite a few people that were there. We had a door prize kind of thing. But we got a lot of work, a lot of business accomplished at that meeting, and I was just so impressed. Just want to say good things about that school.
There's another one this Monday too, if you want to come.
I'm there, I know.
I will say, at elementary school, I did put you in for a raffle to try to win a book vending machine for PBIS. So they were really neat at the conference, so like we give kids gold tokens and go pick out any book in the machine as an award, so you can turn your Cat's Cash into like
That's great.
a
That is
reward.
great.
And I think if you actually had one and it's out there where kids can see it, they might get excited by it.
We do have an area where we just have books out for kids to take.
Right.
We've had so many books over the years, just, they just recycle them and we put them out there. And kids come in, they take a book and it's yours to take it. So the vending machine is actually a great idea, kind of tie in the PBIS and stuff.
Yeah, I thought so. It looked really nice, so I'm gonna share with some of the community organizations and see if anybody's interested in helping. And Lenora,
I'm good, thank
you good? Okay, so I think there's no visitor recognition. Then I would like to get a motion to adjourn. Jen? Mary, I'll have Mary second. Mary's excited to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all for attending tonight.